City Attorney Grant Jagginger,
Here.
and Acting City Manager Martin Yamamoto.
Here.
Thank you.
New business. Chief?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the Civil Service Commission. Before you, I'm going to present, and I think it's in your packet as well. We recently had a eligibility list for a second round of lateral applicants. That testing was conducted on the 27th of last month. And Commissioner O's was involved in that process as well. And he has provided me with a ranked list for certification from the commission. I have a hard copy here, an original, which I'd ask you all to sign if you are in agreement with the three. So I think we need to move forward from there.
Okay. I can propose that we accept the list of eligible lateral police candidates from 8, 2022.
All in favor?
Is there a second?
Yes, there was.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And here's the original copy. You can hand that around for everybody's signature. We're still,
Two new ones, right?
we have 2 new appointments, yes.
One from Texas and
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, they are, okay. Yeah, they look.
Which one is from Seattle?
There's a fee on
There is the previous list of Brittany Roy was from Seattle.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Have they started yet?
And they started their PTO process, the police training officer process. That started on the 22nd of last month. That'll take approximately 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having that completed.
Oh.
Everyone should be current.
C, discussion regarding current civil service rules and regulations. I have a suggestion that I've been going over, and I have several notes,
Okay.
and you may too. Rather than spend 30 pages, can we do this in thirds? 15 pages, or do you think we can get through 30 pages?
And if I may, Chairman, what we're proposing here today is basically a review by staff and come back to you with some recommendations for you to review. And I don't know, Mr. Degengerty, would you like to kind of comment on that?
Certainly, Acting Chief White. As we noted over the efforts of the commission during the fall and even continuing, there are many provisions in the rules, particularly with regard to how notice is sent and transmitted and what the appeal periods are, that seem to be left in the 20th century, and we're in the 21st century. The key is it's slowing down the work of the commission to have mail notice and 10-day appeal periods. So what we would like to do is to come back to the commission in a future meeting with a proposed set of amendments. A lot of it focused on speeding up the process we certainly want to maintain due process for applicants, but at the same time, we want to recognize that most communication is going to be through email and through the phone, as opposed to sending documents via US mail. We also think that the appeal periods can be reduced somewhat so that you can move more swiftly, especially in when you are facing such a challenging hiring market for police talent right now. So our suggestion would be for us to develop a draft, but I also think it would be very helpful if the commissioners have specific suggestions, if we could just get them via email and incorporate them into a draft. That might be an easier way for the commission to then walk through a draft rather than trying to walk through walk through the, page by page today.
I'm reading this thing, you have 10 days to appeal, and days being calendar days according to definition. And I was thinking, well, you have a 3-day holiday a lot of times, so you really only have 7 days to appeal. So if we reduce it, then we got to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I think there are several items, like you mentioned, that probably need clarification. And this was drafted in 2013.
Yeah.
It seems like it was drafted a lot longer than that, but it just needs to be updated and clarified, I think. So I think the chief and myself and you guys can make some suggestions, and we can come up with maybe the next meeting, some suggestions on some things to update this. Since we've done this a few times now, I think we have a good grasp of the process.
So you're just looking at things that you feel are obsolete.
Yeah,
or just
exactly.
not valid, or- okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the points of contention earlier was about the that you certify and what has to have the 70%, pass.
That's right.
So the whole outside testing source that has their criteria, that's not good enough. That was, the crux of that.
I think that
Idea
is
was to
another
pass
section
fail.
we need to fine tune.
In several discussions with Examiner O, that came up a few different times. So if we could address that somewhere in the civil service rules, along with, a true definition of what veterans preference is going to be, because I think that's critical as well. So that we get that right for the RCW and for the federal statutes. So,
I would think you have more insight on that than we would, because you know what's, especially with all that's been going on the last year and a half, because this is kind of precedent since I've been here that we even had to deal with this, with all these hirings and everything. So it seems like that makes the most sense to me.
well, I think everybody's, look at the current rules is critical. I think that we should get insight from the commission, as well as have staff and Mr. Degner go over it to make sure that we're in line with best practices. So that would be my recommendation for us to review it and then come back at a later meeting and move forward from there.
Chief, who would you like the commissioners to send their suggestions and/or edits to? Do you want them to send it to you, and you could forward it on to me so I can work with Grant too in helping edit the rules and regulations?
That'd be perfect, Naomi. Thank you.
Okay, so as long as the commissioners make sure they have your email, and then we could do it that way.
We have an updated list for you.
Okay, wonderful.
And Chief, when would you want us to have this on your desk?
The meeting would be the second Wednesday of next month. And I believe that meeting time is 3:00. This is not something that we have to work at right away to get this done. I would like to make sure that we're taking our time and due process to make sure we're getting it right.
So due date, is there?
No, at your leisure, and then we'll discuss it again at the next meeting.
Okay. Professors were like that.
If we could, just because we want to get it out in a packet, it might be helpful to get the commissioner's suggestions, say a week ahead of the meeting. That way we could then get it out in a packet.
That's
Get
fine.
it assembled.
Good point. Yeah, the March 2nd would be great.
Okay.
And to you, Chief, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All we have for that discussion.
Anything else?
No, that's good. That's all I got. Just, I'm excited to get thank you for you guys' help. Excited to get the 2 officers on board. Fantastic. And we've got 3 more here on the list. So hopefully we'll be able to get a few more on there.
Is that how many more they want to hire, 2 or 3 or?
So currently we're budgeted for 23 positions within the department. We have 4 positions remaining to be filled. And so we're looking at not only the lateral list that we just certified, but we're also looking at some entry applicants from the previous list that was certified for entry level.
Were you accepted or you scheduled for the police academy?
No, so right now, one of the problems that we're dealing with is currently there's a 5 to 6 month backup to attend the basic law enforcement academy in Burin. So that's one of the reasons why we're eager and looking at lateral candidates so heavily. If we can move on and maybe identify 1 entry level candidate, maybe 2, that we can bring on and use them as another resource while we're waiting to go to the academy, that's something that we can look at.
The list was certified last fall, we had several on there.
Yeah.
So none of them. Both, no matter which
Correct.
city or agency they go to work for, they're still gonna.
They haven't had the opportunity to accept the position yet because we're still working through the testing process.
Okay.
So although we certified the list, we still have additional testing processes that have to occur, which is polygraphs and backgrounds and psychologicals and things of that nature. So once we get close to a position where we feel that we're going to offer a conditional offer, make a conditional offer, we'll move forward with that process as well. We did just have 3 interviews yesterday with individuals from the entry level list. So we're going to be moving on to the next step of that process.
Are you guys seeing more positive just outlook in that regard? I mean, for officers and stuff, I mean, it was such a downward trend there. Nobody wanted, I mean, people are leaving faster than they were in a lot of ways. Is it starting to change a little bit? Are you seeing a little?
I think it's starting to change to a certain degree. I believe currently, so our testing processes for entry level is open continuously through some of our contracted testing groups. So we're continuously getting more applicants. And I think we're up to, I think we have 142 applicants right now listed for Mill Creek as far as entry level. We've just been focusing so much on the lateral side of it, and those applicants are fewer and far between.
Yeah. Well, that's quite a few entry level. Wow.
And then we're also having to take into consideration the time it's going to take to train new officers. As we bring officers on, we have 2 new officers, like I said, 8 to 12 weeks for their training period. And then we only have a certain amount of officers that are certified trainers.
Right.
So we have to adjust that schedule too. So we have to, it's definitely need to be scheduled properly and fill the positions when we have the ability to.
Yeah.
It is the highest priority of the department right now, and it's definitely my highest priority is to get more officers in here and staff properly.
Great. I see you got some new cars coming in too. Yeah.
Council was generous enough to approve that, or we're working on that as well.
There's a lot of ex-military people as new upstarts applying.
As a matter of fact, all 3 of the interviews that we had yesterday are prior military service.
Wow.
2 on this lateral list for ex-military.
Correct.
Great. So that's one of the questions I had in here that I searched. It was that the military points, 10 or 5, whatever it is, military, you have to be out of the service. So and most of the people I see are first responders. I have one person to tell me that he had 2 weeks to go outside before he got his discharge, but he took the test while he have to be after your discharge. So I think we need to, but you haven't run into that, have you?
That seems kind of.
Well, it
No,
depends.
we're the one that applied. the
Yeah, it
points.
depends on when the points are applied. So when we talk about our testing contracts with the, certain entities outside of, we're contracting that service out. So they provide us a raw score, which is based off of their written and physical ability tests. We then have interviews. And then so those veterans preference points are added at that point. So typically it's well after the fact that they've applied and gone through the testing process with our contracted agencies.
But the key is they have to be discharged from the service before they get
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we need to look at through what the federal requirements are as well as the state.
Okay.
Any questions?
Pleasure seeing you.
Yeah, really.
First time I've been here in 2 years.
Yes, yes, I
He looks younger than last time I remember.
like.
Skinny.
That's the mask. The mask does that.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, you got some motion?
No, that's it.
Motion to adjourn,
Make a motion that we adjourn today.
All right.
second,
I second, it, sure.
all in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for putting it together.
Maybe by the next time we only have to have locked doors to get in here. We're getting closer, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well, and I was,
Going down.
and again, I apologize for the confusion in scheduling. I will do much better next time when we have, well, that's fine, I don't have a problem with admitting that I made some mistakes in scheduling.
No, we all take responsibility.
Yeah.
But he's just.
We're all learning. First time in person.
I had to walk across the field instead of down. That's how.